Hello, and what is going on today, guys? Tomcat here, and today we're going to be doing a hauling mission in Spin Tires, which actually we haven't done any hauling missions in a while, and I wanted to do one on the Trials and Tribulations map because this new Bobcat just came out on, well, it just came out recently on the Steam Workshop, and I really wanted to do something with it. I just didn't know what to do with it until I was like, dude, we should haul it to a lumber area because it's one of those runaround vehicles that they would use for loading and unloading and things like that, and just, you know, everyday tasks that you would in, like, say, a lumber yard. But I put the gooseneck trailer on the Duramax, and I was like, you know what, it's not gonna really work because it doesn't have any ramps, and the front end of the Bobcat is really, really low, and it's got tiny little wheels and tires, so there's no way it was gonna get up onto it. And then I thought about trying the sled deck, and I put the ramps on for the sled deck and drove the Bobcat right up behind it, and then I realized the sled deck ramps are way too wide and way too steep for the Bobcat to make it up, so that ended up not being a thing as well. And I will say, long story short, we ended up going with the gooseneck trailer behind the Powerstroke, and it's actually a really good thing that we did that, and instead of using the Duramax, because the Duramax came in really handy later for another reason entirely that you guys will see when you watch the rest of the video. But getting this, first of all, attempting to get this Bobcat up onto that trailer was nuts. Or, well, not even the trailer, trying to get it up onto the sled deck, you're like, I mean, I realized pretty quickly it wasn't going to work. So that's when I was like, okay, there's going to have to be a bit of a change here. And the weird thing about this one is that you can't adjust the arms, you can't adjust the bucket, so that kind of makes it a little awkward too, because you have this big overhang in the front that you can't get rid of. And the other thing with it that I feel like that needs fixed way more than that is the fact that it doesn't have any winch points. So if you get it stuck, or you get it, you know, in a position that's kind of weird, you're not getting it out unless you push it with another truck, and it just feels like the bare minimum that you need in Spin Tires is at least one winch point in the front and one winch point in the back. If you have that, you can pretty much be okay to go through any kind of terrain, any kind of surface, you know, mud, rocks, what have you, and you'll most likely be able to make it through as long as you don't do anything really stupid and go off the edge of a cliff or something. So, with that being said, that's really the only thing that I think that Bobcat, like, desperately needs. I mean, it could use a couple of other tweaks and changes, but, like, as far as what it desperately needs, it needs a winch, at least on the front and the rear. I mean, like, well, preferably on the front and the rear, but, like, at the very least, one on the front. And that's, I think, just the main thing that you have to think about. It's like, why are there no winches? It's like, excuse me, we need them. But enough ranting about winches. Driving it up onto the trailer is a little difficult because with the diff lock on, it can only go straight, and with the diff lock off, it's really finicky, and it actually is realistic. So it drives like a, you know, it drives with that, like, skid steer style. You know, it turns by, you know, turning one wheel a different direction than the other, which is cool, and it's realistic, and I like the fact that he didn't just make the front tires, you know, steer tires, but at the same time, it makes it a little twitchy to position on a trailer, and luckily I got it right in the right spot, and it didn't fall off, which I was very pleased about, because when you get vehicles falling off of trailers, especially one that, I mean, and I cut that down a little bit, like, I edited that down a little bit so you guys didn't have to see me struggling to get up the trailer, because that wasn't very entertaining, but, and again, also, normally, a video like this would have been done live commentary, but this one is done post-commentary, because I really wanted to just kind of, this was me just playing the game. I wanted to, not necessarily commentate it, I wanted to just play the game and have fun and just see what I could do, just kind of by having fun, like, freely playing the game. And then, you know, I recorded it, and I'm doing post-com afterwards, because I feel like that's kind of a different dynamic, and I feel like you guys may get a little bit more of a sense of me just playing the game, if I just, you know, play the game without commentating, and I just kind of, like, you know, freely flow through it. But that's also kind of what live commentary is for, and it's to give you that, you know, that in-person dynamic. So let me know in the comments below if you guys prefer the live commentary or the post commentary. But yeah, just let me know in the comments which one you guys prefer. Now, setting off down the trail with this thing, I knew it was going to be a challenge, but frankly, I didn't know it was going to be as much of a challenge as it actually was. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to make this kind of setup work properly on a trail like this. I mean, it's hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. It's hard, and it's not for somebody that doesn't have any spin tires experience, that's for sure. Especially that doesn't have any experience towing trailers with stuff on them in spin tires. Now, luckily, that Bobcat stuck to the trailer really, really well, and I didn't have to worry about it flopping around or falling off. It did fall off at one point, but that's only because I got the truck in a really bad twisted up position that we had to bring, we had to bring the Duramax in to rescue it. It was bad, and you guys will see kind of the highlights of that in a minute. But going up this hill was probably the first portion of this entire little mini mission where I was like, okay, this is gonna be tricky, because at a certain point this truck basically looks at you and says, okay, guy, this is a little out of my comfort zone, and it's a little steep, and you're a little crazy. And that's kind of the point that we got to that I got to with this is like, first of all, you're gonna need to winch. You're gonna need to winch it no matter what. And secondly, the trailer is really easy to get hung up, but the funny thing is, this trailer doesn't get hung up anywhere near as badly as, like, the semi-trailers and some of the other goosenecks. Like this, if you get it stuck on, like, the crest of a hill, it'll usually just slide across it. It just slides across it and then goes back to its wheels. So it doesn't really ever have issues like getting hung up and just being like, oh god, you know, what are we doing? What are we doing here? I don't know, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I think that's a really good thing about this trailer, because you can actually take it over rougher terrain than most trailers. So at the end of the day, I was actually quite pleased. I was actually quite pleased with it, and I was surprised that it actually did what it did. And it's a pretty stout trailer. It's pretty good. Considering how low it is, it's actually way better than I thought it would be for the rough terrain type stuff. So once we got up this hill, see, that's the thing. Getting up the hill was the easy part. Once we got up the hill, we ended up kind of, I wanted to go around, see those two berms on the right? I wanted to go around those to avoid high centering the trailer, but the problem is, I was winching the trailer itself to try to keep it from rolling over, or tipping, because it's really steep here. And the front of the truck was like, yeah, I'm just going to slide to the edge. And that was kind of, and slide to the edge away from any winch points. And that was kind of the start of where the truck got into this really tricky, bad position. And basically, there was nothing at this point that I could do to get the truck back up without jackknifing the trailer. And that's what happened. The trailer got completely jackknifed, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to bring the Duramax out, and I'm going to try and pull the truck back to a safe spot to, to kind of regroup. And this is why I was really grateful I brought more than one truck. I mean, you should always bring more than one truck if you're doing a hauling mission, just in case your hauling truck gets stuck and gets in a really, really bad position. But especially a truck like this that's got tons of grip, tons of power, and is actually quite fast, it's a really, really nice thing to have, because you're like, I need to, like, move, you know what I mean? You're like, I need to move that truck, and eventually, what we ended up doing was towing it all the way to the bridge, and once we got it towed out here to the bridge, then came driving the Bobcat along the road up to that trailer, which was no easy task. This is when I realized how much of an issue not having winch points was, because it would get caught up in weird spots that I was like, if I could just winch, we could finish this easily and just get it, get the tricky part of road with the Bobcat done and over with. But you can see I had to position the ramps into the ground because of the forks on the front of the Bobcat. Because the forks on the front of the Bobcat, basically I tried a bunch of times loading it, like getting it up the ramps, and it wouldn't go because the forks kept hitting the trailer. So what I had to do was position the trailer kind of sloped down and at the crest of a hill, dig the ramps into the dirt and drive, and you could see the holes from where it was, and then had to drive the Bobcat up onto the trailer. So it was a really weird process, but it actually worked. It actually ended up working a lot better than I thought it would. And this last part here, we had to do one more winch to get the truck kind of unstuck because the rear axle was in the air and it wasn't going anywhere. There was just no way it was going to go anywhere. So we did a little bit more pulling and then ended up getting down the hill right to the lumber area. But it was actually, I would say, a lot more difficult of a challenge than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be just load the Bobcat up, haul it to the lumber area, and that would be it. I thought the hardest part of this was going to be loading the Bobcat onto the trailer. And to a certain extent, it was. But really the hardest part, I think, was keeping the whole setup from flipping over and, well, not necessarily flipping over, keeping the whole setup from sliding off that hill that you saw earlier in the video, which that part of it was actually really, really terrifying because I was like, okay, if this goes, it's gone. And the thing is, if it goes, then that undoes all of the, all the work to, like, that it took to get the Bobcat on the trailer in the first place. But if you guys enjoyed this little challenge in spin tires, don't forget to leave me a like. Tell me in the comments down below what y'all thought of it. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for more. I will see you guys next time. Talk to y'all later. And also, make sure you guys stay tuned and subscribe for all the Spin Tires Mud Runner content that'll be on the way soon. Of course, once the game comes out, and as well as all the Forza stuff. Make sure you stay tuned for that, as well as many other games coming soon. I'll talk to you guys later. See you next time.